Richard.
Where do you think reform might top out, Richard? Because we had the exit poll predicting 13 seats. Obviously, we know you've won. We know that Lee Anderson has won in Ashfield. We know that Nigel Farage has won in Clacton. What do you think your vote share might be? Do you know how many people might have voted for you overall? What's your projections on it?
What we're hearing, and obviously it's changing by the half hour, what we're hearing is that the vote share may end up around the 17% mark. And that means that well over 5 million, possibly over 6 million people have voted for reform. And if you think where we've come from 3 years ago, we were at 0%. And so we're just incredibly proud of that. So many millions of people looking for hope, voted with their heart today. And our ridiculous electoral system means that we get more votes than people like the Liberal Democrats, but something like, I don't know, about 1/10 of the seats or something. So that'll be a massive topic going forwards in the debate. But I think we're going to sort of celebrate these wins, these successes. Hopefully we'll get some more. And yeah, it's a really significant moment.
How do you convince people, Richard? Because last time PR was discussed in a national conversation here in the UK. I mean, the conclusion, apart from the fact you lost the referendum went the other way, but the conclusion was that people like to vote for a named person. They wanted to put their put their cross against a person that they could relate to rather than just a party. How do you change people's minds on that?
Well, it's incredibly simple, actually. We just adopt the system that they use in Scotland for Holyrood, or in Wales for the Welsh Assembly elections, where you have 2/3 constituency representatives and 1/3 on a regional list. So you get the best of both worlds. There's a variety of different systems, but the idea that you can have millions of votes in just a handful of seats and get more votes than other parties or equal, and they get 10 times or 15 times more representatives, just highlights the absurdity of it. And I think in a sense, everybody is realising just how flawed our electoral system is. That's why we worry about turnout and things. So there's a lot of work to do on that debate. But frankly, I've no doubt at all, if we had a referendum next week on it, we'd win it hands down.
Really? Even though we've seen the birth of coalitions of chaos over in Europe. I mean, it's quite funny that you're trying to ape a system that is beloved of the EU, and yet, of course, you're such a vociferous anti-EU campaigner.
Yeah, but look how long Welsh Labour have been in charge in Wales under a PR system. Look how long the SNP have been in charge in Scotland under a PR system. So it's horses for courses. But ultimately, people need to have trust and confidence in the democratic system. And the number of times I hear it on the doors, people say, well, I want to vote for you, but it's a wasted vote. Now, even under first past the post, we're getting a bridgehead. And from that bridgehead, we will build, and you'll have heard it elsewhere. But the reality is, while the Tory party will be deeply, deeply divided after this disastrous defeat, we're going to rapidly become the opposition in the House of Commons to the Labour Party over the next few years and towards the next general election.
I mean, a lot of people scoff at that, and have scoffed at that since, I mean, Nigel Farage first said it, 4 or 5 weeks ago. However, I mean, it is interesting when you look at certainly the initial swathe of results that came through, where Reform was coming second to Labour, certainly in a lot of the red wall seats. It does beg a question as to what people really want, what they can really associate with.
Well, look, people scoffed at me 3 years ago when I launched the new brand reform, and look what we've achieved in just 3 years. So I'd suggest anybody who wants to underestimate us and scoff at what we might achieve in the next 4 or 5 years, I think they better think very carefully. And it's incredible what's been achieved in some of those northern seats. And some of the Labour majorities have actually fallen, not gone up, even though the trend is towards Labour. And that's because actually what people want, they want hope, they want common sense policies, people want change, and people want something to believe in and to vote with passion, with their heart. And I don't think we've heard much passion from or about Sir Keir Starmer. So let's wait and see. But I think anybody that underestimates Reform UK is making a big mistake.
Nigel Farage said in an interview with Christopher Hope on GB News on Thursday, Richard, that the party needed to be professionalised, that he felt he had inherited a mess, and that you could have at least vetted your candidates better. That professionalisation, what form should it take?
Look, we paid a vetting firm £144,000 to do the vetting job, and they took our money. They took the data, and then they didn't deliver the work. So, but look, the reality is, as I said, we've been an entrepreneurial political startup. We've achieved what nobody believed was possible. We're growing rapidly, and you continuously improve all the time. You professionalise, and that will continue very rapidly. So, look, we're making great progress. Here's the other thing, though. Actually, we admit it. When we get things wrong, we make mistakes. We admit it, we learn from it, try not to make it again. Unlike other parties, we try and cover it up, pretend everything's fine. You know, sometimes actually, you've just got to admit it when we haven't got it perfect. And that's who we are. And do you know what? I think that's actually why people quite like us. And my word has spread literally by osmosis, because we've had almost no money. I mean, for the last 3 years, we've had less than £100,000 at any one time in the bank account. You know, I've gone weeks and weeks when I'm wondering how we're going to make the payroll. So what we've achieved is utterly remarkable. I'm incredibly proud of it, and onwards and upwards.
Well, we shall wait to see what the final result is, but looking pretty good. 4 seats so far, according to what we're seeing so far. Richard, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed.